Okay, so now here we are at the final table of this game. This is the same one that you saw in the previous video, where the student wins 4K. I mean, whew, I'm still on that. Now, what's really interesting here is he didn't just earn this victory by protecting himself and making good folds. He actually went out of his way to chip up when chipping up's not too normal. So let me give you an example of a 3-bet situation that Daniel kind of created out of thin air, and I want to show you how he did it. So looking at the screen here, we got 5K blinds. This is final table. So in the last hand it was 3K blinds, so it was like 2 or 3 tables, maybe 2 left. You can see the same people here. So now we're at the final table, and look what happens. We have a button raise, a min raise to 10,000, and Daniel's on the small blind. Now, first thing, if you can't see the bet size right here, just gonna move your eyes down here, 19,750. Thanks to Marcus Vick for showing me that after like 3 years of coaching. I didn't even know where that was. I could never read those bets. But if you look right here, so he has a starting stack of about 140, which is about 28 big blinds, and that's great to 3-bet pull off when you have leverage. That's the key word here for this light bulb moment. When you have leverage, okay? So even though in this tournament he doesn't have leverage necessarily against these two crazy ginormous stacks, he does have it against all of these people, okay? And this is really important because if you imagine future hands, Daniel's going to have a lot harder of a time raising into these guys when he's on, say, the button or the cutoff, unless those guys are showing themselves to be very, very tight. So in the meantime, you want to take advantage of the stacks that you do have control over. Now remember, this is an MTT final table, which means even more leverage because 4,000 up top, that's a big number. That's a big number, and that should get under some people's skin, okay? So look what he does here. Not only does he attack the guy he has leverage over, but he's doing it with a bet size that's very, very reasonable. He already has 2,500 posted, so he's only risking about 17,250. Okay, that's really, really good. What's the pot before that happens? Quick math, I can't think. So there's about 19K in the pot before he raises, so he's risking about 17 to win 19. That's very good odds right there. Anytime you're risking about 1 to win 1, as people, if you've read my book, you know that's a very big deal, and now you can use that in 3-betting situations with a large amount of leverage over people who you have power. So this is really good. So in this hand, Hero makes the raise with Queen Jack. Now here's the important part. Is he calling if that guy shoves? Well, heck no, right? Because that guy most likely is going to be pretty darn tight with a 4-bet reshove range, okay? If you don't know if someone's going to be tight or not, it's best to assume that they are before you assume that they're not. So when he's doing this with Queen Jack right here, he's also doing it with 3 deuce offsuit. Hope so, Daniel. Okay, because really, in effect, they're the exact same hand. So this is something you can use a lot when you're deep in games and you want to make 3-bets to steal from people. In terms of what games you can use this in, the ideas are present in all games, but they're less effective in games where people haven't put in the time yet. They're not emotionally invested. So, for instance, imagine a 9-man. You can make these 3-bets, and I did that when I played, but they're not as powerful because you could always just load up another one, right? But in an MTT, you can't just load up another final table with 4K up top, right? So if people are emotionally invested, these plays become a lot stronger, and they create more folds, which in turn gives you more chips, so you can build that stack and get closer and closer to that $4,000 prize at the end, right? So notice what he's doing here, okay? Let's recap. Min raise on the button. He has about a 28 big blind stack. That's great. He makes a small 3-bet, okay? Just about double this guy's raise. You can make it a little more. I think I mentioned in a previous video, anywhere between 2 and 2.5x is the best. Look what he does. He pulls off 19,750, and the conclusion of the hand is big blind folds, button folds. And so this is just one kind of cool play that Daniel used to help himself chip up and capped off that 4K win. So congratulations once again. And for anybody watching this, this is going to be very helpful. Okay, so here are some things you want to look for if you're going to pull off a play like this. One, you want to look for a situation where you have a high amount of leverage on someone else. This usually comes from having a bigger chip stack, from being in a high pressure situation in the game. You want to have a nice stack size that can afford it. Somewhere around 25, 30 big blinds or even more would be great. And kind of what I was mentioning earlier about doing it in 9-man, not so much, because there's not as much emotional investment. The same thing kind of applies for 45s and 180s. There may be more emotional investment because people have been playing for longer and there's more money up top, but the stack sizes are usually smaller in those types of games, so you don't get the opportunity to pull this play off quite as often. In $3 rebuy 180s, you can get this a lot at final tables. It's a really great play, but these plays are mostly going to come from MTTs. Perhaps maybe if you play some non-turbo 180s, something like that, but mostly MTTs deep, because that's usually deeper stacks and usually way more pressure. And the third thing, finally, that you want to look for is a situation where you can basically establish control over your opponents. And if you look around at the stack sizes at the table, you're more likely to have control or leverage, like we said, over the opponents that you cover rather than the opponents that are huge stacks over you. But by no means should you count these big stacks out as someone you can bully. You still want to look at their behavior at the table to kind of discern, are they tight? Are they loose? Are they reckless? Will they not fold to me? Or maybe they're just a big stack who doesn't do anything. So you want to look at that overall. But I would say overall, as a default, try and stay away from these guys, but I don't want to scare you into folding too much. Okay, so you still want to be on the lookout for that. So there's a lot of stuff in this video that can help you out, and I really hope it makes a difference in your game. Have a great day.